Welcome in, Sandman Nation. I'm Nate. He's Brandon, and we are here with your AFC East preview. Brandon, the draft's coming up just a few weeks away, and we're here to discuss really what the needs are, how they finished off, what their records are of all the teams, and the AFC East. I may have said NFC East, but we're going to do AFC East first. We'll cover NFC East later on. So we're going to each break down a couple of teams for you and go ahead and get that information out to you, hopefully building up to our live draft special that's coming up here in a few weeks. Brandon,
That's the hope.
starting at the
spring.
bottom. Starting at the bottom, dude. Didn't we start at the bottom last time?
I think so. I think that's where we started.
The bottom has to be the Jets, right? I mean, even if the Dolphins and the Jets have similar records, doesn't the bottom have to be the Jets?
I think so. Just from a emotional standpoint for the Jets fans.
Yeah.
Because interestingly enough, we talked about the NFC South in the last episode, and we kind of went like, okay, this was the lowest tier division. And then, as far as odds, right? Projected wins for the year. Since we recorded that first one, it's flipped.
Yeah. Has it?
Miami goes and has a fire sale.
Oh, yeah.
Their wins get bought down from 5.5 to 4.5.
Okay.
In the interim, whatever Carolina's been doing, they got bought up from 6.5 to 7.5. So now this division is projected to be the worst division in the league this upcoming year.
Can you believe that with the Patriots and the Bills?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll get to the Patriots here in a little bit, but it seems that Vegas, looking at this, has built in a little bit of regression for some of these teams and very little upside for the Jets. We'll kick it off here talking about the Jets. Last year, finished 3-14.
Yeah.
Famously, the first season ever without recording an interception by a defense.
Yes.
The vaunted Jets D didn't pick off one ball. And now they are projected for 5.5 wins with, money still coming in on the under on that, obviously. Yeah. They go out, they get rid of Salah. They switch over to
Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn. He's so indescript, I can't remember what his name is.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better. Gets worse, realistically. And they just go, we're just going to keep him, take another run at it. And so, so far, well, and it very much seems like they're going the basketball route. Like, we're just going to tank. And we'll see what happens in another year. Yeah, because anybody that watched what happened with the Raiders last year and went, that's my quarterback, has a head injury. And the guys that are owning the teams aren't supposed to be the ones with CTE. They're supposed to be the guys in the field. So I don't know what happened, but they went, let me get Geno Smith. Let me bring him over, install him as the quarterback, and see how that goes for us. So they went out, they franchise tagged Breece Hall for God knows what reason.
I don't know.
Going to pay him like an average of the top 5 running backs.
Yeah.
And then they went out, they've got themselves signed some defensive players. Probably a good idea. Even though without any picks, they were still the 12th rated defense this year and the 30th rated offense.
Yeah.
We have to go into this draft and look at offensive players. I don't know why I don't see a list of them going out and signing offensive players also, but they haven't. The Jets sit here at pick 2 and 16. So they've got a shot to get 2 reasonable players.
Yeah.
It seems like, to me, going down this road, if we're going to continue on with the fact that Mendoza probably goes to the desert.
Oh, yeah.
that leaves them open to take anybody that makes sense. Now, the interesting thing is when you look at who's rated at the top of this list, it's a lot of defensive players. So I don't know. At 2, you start looking at it and going, well, what you should be doing is probably Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese, something like that. But if you're already on the 12th best defense and you're going to sign a bunch of defensive players, you probably need to slide down and grab yourself offensive linemen, maybe grab our guy from Penn State there. When you're this lost at this point, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they don't trade out of this pick when it comes down to it.
So where did you pick up 12th in defense? Because my numbers were saying a little bit different there, that their defense was a little bit weaker.
Oh, I just grabbed it from Unpredictable.
So I picked up on Pro Football Focus that they were like the 26th defense.
Really?
So that now they don't count everything, but they count different things. So I think that's a good example, and I want to share that with the listeners, right? What are they measuring? And so one of the things that Pro Football Focus had, and right, wrong, or indifferent, I know a lot of people like Pro Football Focus, a lot of people don't. They have a pretty decent grading system, and at the end of the day, as long as you have a system, right? I know you like, what'd you say,
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable. You use that a lot, and it's worked well for you. Pro Football Focus has them hanging out at 26th, but interestingly enough, I did check onto this. They have the 31st ranked coverage defense. So they have a severe need for corners and edge rushers. Now, they traded one of the best corners in football to get that higher draft pick, right? To get the 2 draft picks. So, they're going to have to come in. Apparently, there was something about Sauce they didn't like. Either they didn't want to pay him, or I don't know exactly what it was.
Assume at this point.
That's the only thing I could think of, because they need secondary and edge bad.
Yeah.
So I see the top player for them is that I think David Bailey from Texas Tech, that guy that just caused all kind of problems. There's 2 players that I love in this draft that are edges. David Bailey's one of them, and the other one is that Bain Jr. And we'll get to this in another episode, but I think Bain could fall to the Cowboys, and I'm fingers crossed hoping he does. But I think this David Bailey is probably a monster for them to take to shore up that rush. Because, when you have a bad defensive coverage rate, the only thing that can help that is Deion Sanders type players who can lock down, or a pass defense or pass rush that can get there and help your corners out.
Yeah.
They got to get there. So I think your best move
I would say
here,
that, looking at something like Pro Football Focus is probably much better for projecting off into the future, because they're doing it player level. When you're looking at Unpredictable, they're just going, hey, what was the outcome of what already happened? And where does that put you? And so, that mixing right in there, when you turn over like this, and when you have no leadership, I mean, that's the other thing, is that, as we go through these divisions, with a lot of the divisions, you have a top 2 teams that are at least above average, and you got a bottom 2 teams that's below average. And, you go through something like the Jets in Miami here, and you go, most of your problem is you don't have any leaders. You can go out here and get whoever you want to get, but eventually you have to go, okay, now we have some players. Let's get us somebody to coach these players. And that's where I go, hey, they've moved up to 2. They've got 16, which, interestingly enough, that's right around where Bain is slotted, from a ratings perspective, not from a, mock draft or anything like that. But that's right around where he lives, where you could easily go and get yourself, Downs, for your secondary, Bain on the edge. You've got some linebackers mixed in here, depending on what kind of defense you want to play. Right. But again, you're running down the path of going, okay, we shore up the defense again. We've got this good defense. And we got Geno Smith and a pissed off Bryce Hall stuck behind whatever line they've got left. So, that 5.5 is looking real operational at this point.
Yeah.
When you start going down
absolutely.
this road of going like, hey, who are these guys going to be? Yeah, it's hard to not win 5 games, but they seem like they are staring right into the mouth of doing it.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Other than that, like I don't see a lot here where I go, hey, you can do this couple of 1 or 2, and that puts you in a position to go do something. They really, of all the teams, feel like that one that you just go, oh, okay, you guys are really punting on this next season.
Right.
And hoping that this draft goes well, and then the next draft goes well, and you go find yourself a new coach, and then maybe you can do something. But
Absolutely.
we'll see if they come out of there with some sort of plan.
Yeah. I think, from where we sit in our layman's perspective and our, backseat driver perspective, if they don't come out of here with an improved defense, their offense is weak, but they tried to address it with Geno Smith. Geno Smith is really not the answer. But honestly, they've got Garrett Wilson, they've got Brees Hall, they've got Geno. Their offense is serviceable. They're not. I don't think this is the year they think they're going to go compete for the playoffs in the AFC, but they've got to make a step forward for the fan base. That being said, I could also see ownership saying, tank for Arch. We'll see how that plays out, right? And we know that
It could be.
Arch has a lot of upside. He also has a lot of downside in that he hasn't shown up quite the way his older uncles did when they were in college. I don't know how that translates to the NFL, but pedigree wise, we've heard this year's quarterback class outside of Mendoza and Ty Simpson is a little weak. Do you think it's
Well,
I know this
it's
is a lot.
crazy saying both of those names in the same sentence.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it's to go to Mendoza and then go Ty Simpson. That's, what it seems like everybody is kind of saying. But all of the conversation about Ty Simpson is like squinting and going like,
Yeah.
well, like maybe,
maybe.
if you get him for cheap enough in the draft, or like, hey, if he ends up on one of the good teams as a backup, you're staring at the Rams or something like that, where you go, maybe they can grab him, put him in the quarterback room with Stafford, and maybe he's got some of the tools to get him there. But like, just like we talked about back in the last episode when we were kind of having Tampa, when we were talking about Tampa.
Yeah.
You go, yeah, some of these guys, they got some tools banging around. But to me, Mendoza's questionable enough.
Oh, yeah.
To have one huge year and just completely pop. That's the funny thing about going, hey, we're going to tank for Arch. We haven't even got to like spring ball yet. Like to go, hey, here's going to be the top quarterback. He might not even be the top quarterback. I mean, he did obviously, he picked up pace and, after getting some pointing and some snickering over, the first couple of games of the season, he got his feet under him. But like,
it's pedigree, man. It's having the size, it's having the skill set. The training is probably far more advanced than a normal human being gets. So I think all those things combined with taking a chance on a guy like that as opposed to Ty Simpson.
Right. No, and you're definitely right. And look, if you can, the worst thing about the outlook for Arch is that he would have to play really poorly to not get taken by a really bad team.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
When you're a really bad team, it's difficult to then get trained up. And so, that's what Mendoza's about to deal with if all the reporting is true and he's going to go to the Raiders. We saw how a quarterback in Geno didn't do great, went to Seattle, apparently got the right kind of coaching there, played above average, and then got brought down the Raiders and just completely fell on his face, seemingly just because it's a completely different, it's an offense that wasn't built to take advantage of what he was able to do there in Seattle.
Brandon, you're exactly right on that point. The funny thing is, in the dynamic that we talk about, is that Geno was playing for the same coach in both places. The
Yeah.
talent around him was significantly different, as proven by the Seahawks, who went and won the damn Super Bowl without him. So, you look at it and you go, was it Geno or was it the team? And I think we're going to find out that Geno's going to lay another egg with the Jets as we circle it back and finish up the Jets.
Yeah.
It's going to be an ugly situation. It's going to be a Justin Fields situation. It's going to be a Geno got drafted by the Jets, and Geno's going to end his career with the Jets.
Well, and it's not just like, yes, Geno went right with Pete down to the Raiders, but the Seahawks were more than just him being the head coach. It was an entire organizational structure to go, hey, here's how we're going to lead the team. And even bringing in and going, hey, we're going to have this new coach, and he has a new way to go about things. He went, gets Darnold, who's another quarterback that started as an even higher prospect than Geno was.
Oh, yeah.
Flamed out, had a good season with Minnesota, and then comes over there and you go, I don't know. Seattle isn't known for being a quarterback factory or anything. Is Darnold just going to fall apart? And then he does just fine. Not elite, but above average, and gets his team exactly where it needs to go and succeeds. But Geno and Pete go down, and you go bring in Chip Kelly and try to like take a bunch of names and just put them all together and go, I bet that'll turn into something. Yeah. And then it just doesn't. And him going back to the Jets, where we already know there's not a plan from a leadership perspective, is going to just put him right back where Geno was the last time he was with the Jets, trying to figure out how to play quarterback with nobody rowing in the same direction as him.
Yeah, and it's too bad, right? Because it's just going to end up not good for that guy. But
yeah, and Garrett Wilson's going to be pissed by
week 2,
week 3.
Yeah,
and Breece Hall is going to start off the season bent out of shape. He thought he was getting out of there.
Yeah, he tried.
They started, trading people, and he had to have been like, well, I'm a running back. They're for sure going to send me somewhere. And they're like, I got this slip for you to hold on to. Have fun making a good chunk of money, but this team's going to suck, and you're going to be the face of it.
Another year of losing.
Yeah.
Losing's brutal, man. Speaking of losing, team that didn't lose as much as the Jets, but didn't do well this year, and it cost them coaches and tons of players, the Miami Dolphins. Running into this year's draft with the number 11 overall pick. They've released a lot of guys. They've done a lot of damage here. Got rid of Tua, got rid of Tyreek. Waddle's like gone now. What are we looking at here? What are we thinking? I mean, I'm showing, team needs. Not only do they need an offensive line, and they need a defensive line, they need a pass rush. They could stand some receivers. What don't they need?
I honestly, it feels like they need everybody. Like, there may be some trenches guys that you go, oh, that's pretty good. That's above average. But
Devin Achane, he's
the
okay.
Skill position players, like I don't know any of them that I go like, oh, this is going to be great. I mean, Achane has to be the same with Breece Hall, going like, what the hell is happening? Like, well, I'm the only guy left.
This is going to be one of those things, right? So we talk a lot about this during the season. It's really hard to forecast teams coming off the off season. I have no idea how we're going to forecast and rank the Dolphins. Hey, right now we are heading into the draft. We have no idea who they're going to take. their free agent pickups have been relatively minimal. I'm not sure they're going to be able to win 7 games again this year. Don't know where those wins are going to come from. And they might be worse than the Jets. Is that possible?
I think so. I think, look, this to me, this is going to come down to Malik Willis can run a pro offense for a prolonged period of time, or he just can't. And if it turns out he can't, and it's just the Packers fleecing another team, then I don't know. Do they not win any game? Like you just like you get rid of your wide receivers, you get rid of your quarterback who there was no reason to hold on to Tua. But
Yeah.
to just go, we're gonna go grab this guy that played a section of time for the Packers, who historically make quarterbacks look way better than they are once they leave.
Yeah.
And a guy that didn't exactly have a pro pedigree to begin with.
Right.
Like he went to Tennessee and everybody went like, okay, cool. Like, what are you going to do with that? Like he wasn't projected to be like this expert pro passer. So what are we trying to do? And now he got himself a real paycheck. So that's cool.
I don't know. So the one thing I keep remembering about Malik is he was drafted high. He was a prodigy coming out, and everything I've seen with him and the Packers has been sufficient. The only thing that makes me think the Packers haven't fleeced anybody is that it's the Packers coach who left who wanted him down there. That makes me think, okay, he's going to at least try to implement what he had with Malik. Now, the difference is the Packers receivers, they have a bunch of them, and they're pretty okay is the best way. None of them are elite, right? You're not running around with Pickens and Lamb down there. You're not running around with Jackson Smith and Jigba. But Golden and Watson and, Dobbs, they were very, very serviceable. So the defenses had to respect those receivers and not put a complete loaded box against Malik Willis every single time. Plus, they had, was it Aaron Jones, I think? Just running the piss out of the ball everywhere. Okay, you got Achane. He can play that role, but there's no outlet. There's no reason for teams not to put 8-9 in the box at all times against this. I don't see it moving. It's going to be 1st and 10, 2nd and 9, 3rd, 8. Let's hope they catch one. It's like, I don't know. From a draft perspective, who do you have them looking at that can alleviate that? I mean, at the 11 hole, are we looking wide receiver, or do we think we need to try to protect this guy that we just paid a lot of money for?
Yeah, my thought is that the draft is going to tell us what Miami thinks about what they're trying to do. Because if they go and take some linemen early, then that tells me you think, okay, the wide receivers we're going to have are going to be serviceable. We just need to protect him, give him some time. We have a plan here. If they just go straight to, like, let me grab some of these mid-round wide receivers, then I'm taking it to mean we're just going to go out there and sling the ball and just, like, hope he could dodge oncoming traffic as these linemen, do what they're capable of doing, hold back as much as we can, but we're not really getting them help. I don't know.
Right.
Have they went out and signed anybody early that lineman wise?
No, I don't think there's anybody lineman wise that's really jumping off the page. I mean, like, good God, Brandon, they signed Tutu Atwell, a receiver. I mean, we're going to replace, Waddle and
two of the fastest guys running around
with Tutu Atwell. I mean, that's what we're signing. I don't like it at all. I will say that for the Dolphins to finish where we think they can, they're gonna need to, and what I mean by where I think they can is maybe better than 6 wins. What do you have as the number for them?
Yeah.
Their over under.
4.5 now. It's been bought down from 5.5 to 4.5.
I mean, their starting wide receivers are Malik Washington and Jalen Tolbert and Tutu Atwell. Well, Jalen Tolbert was a Cowboy and he was terrible. Malik Washington is terrible. Tutu Atwell was a Ram and he got cut. He's terrible. Their backups are Terrace Marshall Jr. and Theo Weiss. Theo Weiss, in my opinion, might be the best wide receiver on their roster based on what he did at Mizzou. They have nobody Malik can throw the ball to. Their offensive linemen are just sus. They're not in good shape, man. This team, 4 wins, this might be an underplay.
It feels like it.
I mean, I don't see them beating Buffalo or New England, and that's 4 losses. And the Jets, they could split with.
Yeah.
Do you have their schedule?
Yeah, they're let's see here. Miami. Where did that go?
Schedule's not out yet, but we have who they play, right?
No, but we've got Chicago, Cincinnati, Detroit, AC, and the Chargers at home.
We're not gonna win any of those games.
Denver, Indy, Green Bay, Vegas, Minnesota, and San Fran on the road.
Tell me where 4 wins are.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, hey, Vegas is maybe doable. Maybe Cincinnati, depending on how all of that shapes up. You know,
I got to go out right now. I'm going right now and looking at DraftKings. If it's a good
and it's
price,
some plus money on the under. It's plus 105 on the under. Yeah,
I'm going to bet it right now, dude.
So,
I'm going right now.
Just one of those
live.
Things
You're going to see it right now, team. I'm betting it live. I got to get my verification code out. 489-450. You guys can all hear it. If they're plus money at DraftKings, I'm playing it right now on the under because they're not going to win 5 games. You've heard it here first.
Yeah, I don't know. Indy, I guess. They should bounce back. But, once Jones got hurt, they kind of stumbled. But the rest of this just looks like them getting worked by people. So yeah, that's a pretty significant jump because, we looked at them as a pretty bad team last year, but they won 7 games when it all came down to it. So, they definitely overperformed what they ended the season like.
Under 4.5. Team, you just see it here. $25 bet. Boom. Done it. You heard it here first. I don't even know who they drafted. Done. That's just ridiculous. Anyway, we're done talking about the Dolphins. Screw them. We're on to the Bills. Let's talk about the Bills before I bet more on the Dolphins to lose. New head coach Joe Brady coming in with a new stadium. This is how I describe the Buffalo Bills season in 2025, Brandon. A very disappointing 12-5. I mean,
yeah.
I just, it's, when you fire your head coach, it's disappointing. When you're ousted like they were, it's disappointing. They're in the 26th spot in the draft position. I mean, they're probably looking quarterback, don't you think? No. You know what they're looking? They're looking defense. Pro Football Focus has this group. Listen to this crap. They have a leaky defense. 21st in defense, Pro Football Focus. 27th in run D. You don't think they're going to draft a run stopper or at least a heavy backer early on?
Well, and when you're on that second half of the first round, to me, that's kind of the spot to go find a guy that you like more than everybody else, but that isn't at the top of the list, right? Yeah. Offense, kind of gets picked over at the beginning, and you get a look at, hey, if we need some defense and we're on the back third of the first round, they should have some guys to pick from that they go, hey, we can do something with this. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah.
For Josh's sake.
So I've got them slotted at CJ Allen from Georgia falling in to their laps kind of as that edge, maybe a little bit more of a run stopper than a pure edge, but he is a pretty strong player. If he could fall to him at 26, I think they'd be pretty happy with that. You know, they're going to have a lot of questions this year, right? And I feel like Josh Allen's going to feel the pressure. They have needs at O-line because didn't it feel like Allen was running for his life a lot this year? But I say that thinking he feels like that every year. Is that just the nature of his game because he's a running quarterback, or do they really have offensive line issues?
I think that unfortunately, maybe for these top flight quarterbacks, that teams default to, okay, what can we get away with? Like, we got to pick a thing. You can't get top guys everywhere.
No.
So, if you go, well, we got this quarterback that just can do all the things that we're asking him to do. I think that leads people to kind of go like, okay, we can have a little bit of weakness there. And I don't know, man, maybe wouldn't make a whole lot of difference if you went down the road of like, we sure this up and he can just stand in the pocket for hours. I don't know that helps him a ton. I think, unfortunately, Buffalo just might be cursed.
We don't want to talk about
like
curses.
I'd hate to, bring something like that up, but when you have a history like they do, and you have a quarterback like they do, and you've been so close so many times, and then everybody else that's kind of on that elite tier of quarterback gets injured in the same year, and you go, you just go through this door right here, and the Super Bowl trophy's right over there, and then you can't get around Denver. You go, that is a bad flip of a coin.
Right.
Like that's tough. So, I don't know. I'm assuming he's eventually going to figure it out. But when you get a guy like that, you go, man, I hope we win a couple of Super Bowls. And you're now, into a reasonable number of years of his career and haven't got one. You got to start running off a couple in a row in quick succession if you're going to get a couple. And
so, dude, your biggest problem
right up against.
Your biggest problem here is Josh Allen is not able to overcome the Michael Jordan factor. So
yeah,
there were many, many NBA players that did not get a championship ring that deserved it because Michael Jordan was there. You could run through the Patrick Ewings, you could run through the Charles Barkleys, you can run through the Karl Malones. Arguably Allen played in an era of Mahomes, but I don't think that that's enough. I don't think I'm going to give Allen a pass on that because he just got surpassed this year by Drake May. If you want to be elite, you can't let the second-year guy like Drake May overtake your position that easily. And I know it's not all Allen, but I don't think we can put him. He's more Lamar Jackson than he is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
and
more...
Look, I get it. Everybody's having fun crapping on the Chiefs because of how precipitous their drop ended up being from year to year. But
they still have
at the end of the day, they got a bunch of Super Bowls. So you go, we have this guy, and I get it. Everybody likes him, and he hasn't won yet. So he still has like this
great dude.
His whole fan base, Hutch, plus just a bunch of other people that are going, it'd be fun to see him win. But you're exactly right that like he had a position where you could go, this is your spot, and then you don't even win your division.
Right. This was the spot, and he didn't come close. And so they're trying to say this is coaching, right? Get rid of the coach. Got coach fired. Now Joe Brady's.
Yeah.
Honestly, Allen needs a couple of wide receivers that are going to maybe not elite wide receivers. He could stand he's never had a Kelsey. He's never had a Jerry Rice. He's never had a CeeDee Lamb. He's never had and Dallas didn't have it, but he's never had these types of guys. He's never had that tight, never had Mark Andrews, for God's sake. He's always just had, Dalton Kincaid's kind of coming along. They've got to find him his guy that pairs with him. Every quarterback that is elite and won Super Bowls has a parent. There's always somebody. I bet we could run through it, right? Manning always had Marvin Harrison. Brady found his guy, right? He had Moss at one point in time, but he always had Amendola, or he had Wes Welker. They always had there you go. He lived with Gronk.
Well, it was just like he lived for so long that he had several guys. But he always each year had a guy.
Bradshaw had Lynn Swann. Aikman had Michael Irvin.
Yeah.
The list goes on. I mean, Staubach had Drew Pearson. Montana had Rice. I mean, Young had Rice. I mean, Elway had, you could go down the list. And the problem is Allen has had nothing like that. He doesn't have his pairing. So they need to find his pairing, A. And B, they need to get a defense that can help him, because none of these quarterbacks we're talking about have been anything without defenses. Look at the Chiefs, right? They had Spagnuolo's defense. All right, look at the Ravens, right? They couldn't do anything without that defense. And the 49ers had a very good defense. Everybody's like, oh, Montana and Rice. How about Ken Norton and Ronnie Lott and Charles Haley? You don't have anybody on the Bills talking like that. The Cowboys, when they were winning the Super Bowls, right, they were fantastic. They had Michael, Emmett, and Irvin. Well, what they also had was they had Charles Haley. They had Deion Sanders. They had Charles Woodson. They had players that the Steelers had the steel curtain, for God's sake.
Yeah,
the Bills don't have this. I mean, even the Bills that went to the Super Bowl had like Bruce Smith and Cornelius Bennett and those guys back in the day. Until they figure this out, Josh Allen's going to sit in mediocrity for the rest of his life, and he's a talent squandered.
No, he's elevating an average team.
Yeah.
No, he is. Like he is elevating a team to the best of his ability. I mean, when you have to like pick a guy up and just drag him off the field because he has just given every ounce that's in him to try to get up over the hump. And look, it's twice now that he was right there, and one play took it out of his hands.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's football. That's the difference of that's how football works. Like, you come down to these plays, and one of the things that I thought about when you running through that list of wide receivers with quarterbacks is you kind of go, well, in reverse, like, there was an elite quarterback, an elite wide receiver, but if they never made it over the hump, if those coin flips would have went the wrong direction, they would have went like, those players were good, but they're not duos anymore. Like Manning was really, him and Harrison were really one of the only ones that while they were failing at getting over the hump, they were going, these guys are so good.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're not getting over the hump. That, like, obviously what Rice was doing, they kind of very quickly started having success with Montana. So like, it wasn't really like, is he the greatest wide receiver of all time? Maybe, and then he wins some Super Bowls. But like with a lot of these teams, especially when you talk about Brady, and you go, we always had his guy. And it's like, well, but if some of those Super Bowls that were close wouldn't have worked, I don't know if we would have been naming those guys the same way.
True.
Like, they got the hardware. So then you go like, well, clearly that's a guy because he's got a ring to wear now.
You're talking chicken and egg. You're talking.
Well, it is, but there's a lot of that in football that, like, you go down this road of going, you coin flip this the other direction, and like the 12 seconds doesn't happen at Arrowhead, and they go to the Super Bowl, and whatever happens there, whoever his top wide receiver is, then becomes at least a guy that is talked about. He throws for 300 yards. One of his wide receivers gets triple digits. And you go, that guy's okay. He showed up when it was time to show up. So now he is some version of this special echelon that exists out there. And you just don't know what that person is going to be. But I think comparing him to Jordan early in Jordan's career is a wild thing to compare somebody to Jordan, but he had that time early on where he was just trying to will his team over the hump. And until he got some help, that greatness wasn't, you can't play it by yourself. Even in a 5-man sport, you can't do it alone. You got to have somebody else that's going to help you. And a 11, 22, however you want to draw the line, man sport, you got to have some extra guys that you go, oh, these are the other guys that hold this whole thing together. And I don't think they've been able to do that yet. So it's going to be interesting to see, hey, with this new coach, do we end up going the direction of, let's just shore up this defense some more. Let's shut down these other teams, give Allen some room to breathe, and let him just elevate his side of the ball. That's probably the way I would lean.
Yeah, which we think he can do, which means when they draft, they have to stop this stupid-ass leaky defense. Back to bring this thing full circle. They have a leaky defense, and they need a lot of help. It's significant. When we were talking, I did pull up the pass blocking offense ratings on Pro Football Focus for the Bills. They're 6th best. So,
that's a pretty good start.
That's a good start. I don't think you need to waste an early draft pick on that. I think you can focus on shoring up your defense, knowing that information.
Yeah, it kind of leads you to the direction that maybe Allen is just holding on to the ball in such a way that even with a well-blocked defense, eventually somebody's going to be back there and give him his space
trying to make something happen.
Deke them out
his whole life
and try to make something happen. Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. So, all right. So, to finish up the East, how about those Super Bowl contending Patriots? Brandon, I think you did a deep dive on these Patriots. We've got Drake May, who's a fun quarterback, and I can tell you this, as a sports card collector, his sports cards went bananas there during the Super Bowl. I sold several myself, made a few dollars. But as far as winning the Super Bowl, that didn't happen. So, what do you got that
did not work out for him?
What do they need to do here?
They're going to technically need a bunch of stuff, right? When it comes down to it, that they landed on a situation where they had the 24th hardest schedule. They went out there and they won 14 games.
Okay.
They get themselves into the playoffs. They make their way through those games. They finally run into a Seattle team that is running on all cylinders, and they just get torn apart. They just can't stop the onslaught from that defense. So where we end up is that their over-under is now 9.5.
Which blows my mind. But I am not running out to bet this team because I see where Brandon's going.
The over is taking some money.
Yeah, it should.
When we recorded the first episode, it was minus 110 on the over. It's moved up to minus 120. So they've taken, some more money on the over than the under, and, has moved it a little bit. But they're still in that position where they're staring at 9.5. And so far, they have went out and signed a whole laundry list of guys. They went out and got Romeo Doubs.
Yep.
They got Kevin Byrd. They've, a handful of defensive ends and guards and fullbacks and linebackers. And one of the longest lists of signings that they've been able to get that I've seen across looking at all these teams so far. They're going out there, they're making moves. They are clearly going, we have this thing in our hand. Let's figure out how to shore this up. Like a responsible team should be doing when you get a guy like May. And look, to a certain extent, we got to the end of that Super Bowl game and he had had the absolute shit beat out of him.
It was
and
ugly.
Nobody's ever going to come clean, but he very well may have had some sort of injury that they just decided not to report, and that, gave him a little more trouble in the Super Bowl than you would have wished. But
might have cost us a few dollars.
They're in a position with, when we end the season and they've got the 5th best offense, the 11th best defense for last year in performance wise, you start looking at, okay, how do we protect him better? And how do we get that defense even better than it was performing? Right? We've got some weapons running around. They got rid of Diggs. He seems like he's going to have plenty of problems on his hands. Patriots probably didn't want to deal with that. So moved off of him, go out, get Romeo Doubs. I'm sure they're eyeing more offensive weapons, but they're the kind of guys that have historically worked. Let's draft some guys. Let's sign some guys that other people don't want. Let's coach them up. Vrabel, played a part of, that whole philosophy when he was a player. So remains to be seen whether he's going to be able to continue that as a coach, but I'm sure that's what the plan is that, that's what he's lived through his professional career. So, they're obviously losing the Super Bowl deep in the first round at the 31st pick. And,
that doesn't help.
I think that, you have, to me, you have to figure out the offensive line thing. He's got to stop getting hit.
I think
I don't know what they're telling people. I don't know what the game is, but like they went with the rookie last year. He did okay early in the season. He might have started getting beat up a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. He was a turnstile when we got to the Super Bowl.
I mean, maybe.
But he gets a little older and you get a little stronger, and maybe you're completely reasonable to be one of the 5 guys out there.
Yeah.
But I think hopefully they have been able to go through this process and they can pick out a guy that will be there around this time. Or, the Patriots are famous for trading back. That was always a Belichick thing. He's gone. Who knows if somebody's going to try to kind of continue that. But these 31st picks, you get a lot of coin flips when it comes down to it. Realistically, you get 30 players deep. And if there's not somebody there that you're really excited about, that's one where there is going to be a team that is excited about somebody and you let them pay to trade up. But if not, for me, I go, we've got right in that, late 20s, early 30s range. We've got Proctor coming out of Alabama. We've got Miller coming out of Clemson. Those are really the 2 offensive tackle wise before you get way down into the 40s where you're looking at like Pregnon coming out of Oregon, offensive guard. So hopefully they like one of those 2. Somebody else falls maybe, or you start looking at going, how do I get out of this pick and get some value for it for somebody that does need somebody in that range? That's a range where, hey, Ty Simpson starts falling in, where maybe the Rams or somebody else wants to move back into that back end of the first round. If they're liking him, maybe to grab him there. But I think you got to focus on that line. You can't let a guy that's 2 years just get his shoulder just blasted into the ground over and over again.
They thought really highly. What's his name? Will Campbell.
Yes.
They really thought he was going to be the answer. And I'm not saying he's not, but to your exact point, I think your analysis of this, and while you don't need my validation, somebody out there does. So I'm going to give it to you. I think you're spot on with this. I think the Patriots are in a unique position to take the best offensive lineman available or trade out and catch a couple extra picks. And Vrabel and Kraft understand. I'm not exactly sure who their GM is, but they understand the benefit of
No,
what Belichick was able to accomplish.
I can't find his name. I heard somebody say it the other day, but
Yeah.
it's a loss somewhere.
But the gist of it is, regardless of who he is, the model's in place for them to follow if they want to do it. And there are going to be teams like the Raiders, like the Jets, that are going to potentially be looking right at that 33, 34, 35 spot at taking a top wide receiver that's hanging out there. Because I think there's going to be a lot of wide receivers that fall in this draft. For some reason, I'm thinking 2 or 3 come off the board maybe in the first round, but there's a whole bunch of middle receivers, and those teams need receivers. So if there's somebody hanging out in like the, I don't know, let's call it the 10th or 11th spot in the second round, you could see that team, and they need a wide receiver bad. That's who the Patriots are going to trade with. I can see somebody coming up to get a wide receiver in the 31st pick to try to get in front of the Raiders and the Jets, because the Raiders need really bad a receiver for Mendoza. The Jets need somebody really bad to pair with Garrett Wilson. And if there's a fear that like Carnell Tate's going to come off the board, the Patriots are in a perfect position to strike and get some draft picks. Move down, get some draft picks, still get their offensive linemen. So your analysis is spot on that. Not that you needed my validation, but that's how I see it happening.
You always like to see how everybody's seeing this stuff, because it's hard to take a team that goes to the Super Bowl and go, you very clearly have a couple of gaps. And you go, well, what the hell? And you go, well, okay, first of all, you got lucky that Buffalo couldn't get their shit together. You had an easy schedule, and you went and you won all the games you needed to win. And that's all you can do right up until you get to the Super Bowl. And look, the week before the Super Bowl, you play in a damn snow hurricane. And that's probably the reason you get by. So realistically, if you kind of work your way backwards to coin flips and go, hey, look, those 14 wins are your wins, and then you get to the playoffs and you kind of finagle your way through being successful in a couple of these games in some very New England ways.
Yeah.
We're going to take advantage of something bad that happens to this other team, and we're not going to make mistakes.
That's a New England thing. Sure.
Hey, we're going to limit our mistakes. You're eventually going to make a mistake, and we're going to get you. And they've got a whole wall of Lombardi trophies to go, I think this is the way to do it.
This works.
If you want to win more, you should plan for how do we overwhelm people, and then use your, disciplined jiu-jitsu when you have to. And so I think you look at it and go, this is one of those teams, the line is not good enough. Go out there and fight to get the right lineman, and then figure out the next problem next.
Yeah.
In my estimation, at least.
Yeah, no, agree completely. So that's the AFC East roundout. Just real quick, predictions early, way too early predictions. Who's going to win the division? Patriots or Bills?
I can't point to anybody but the Bills.
Yeah.
They have to go do it.
Yeah.
The 10.5 that their over-under is, I'd have to lean to the over.
Yeah.
And honestly, for the other 3 teams, I would start with going for the under.
Yeah.
Which is a bad sign for everybody else in the AFC.
Yeah.
Because if New England regresses to less than 9.5 wins,
that's bad.
that means Buffalo probably gets like 14 or 15 wins. And everybody else in the AFC better watch out.
I don't see New England falling. I don't know if they can make 11 wins, but I think they can get to 10. 10's my number for them.
It's going to be close. I think I would take the under on the 9.5. Just historically, I think there is a world where they have the Baltimore type of interlude season where they need to kind of regroup and figure their thing out and kind of next year go, now we're going to be a problem again. But we'll see how everybody bounces back. They may figure it out and be one of the wild card teams securely by the middle of the season.
I would note that's more about NFL scheduling than it is about team talent. Oh. That interlude year changes who they play in the following season, and that makes a big difference. And don't let anybody out here who's gambling on this stuff, don't ever in a moment hesitate to believe that the Patriots were good last year because of their schedule. They're going to take a step back this year, and then the following year they could rebound, and it's a lot of schedule related incidents. The NFL does this on purpose to bring parity to the league and to bring balance to the league, and it's why we all love it, but it's also why teams cannot get a stronghold on divisions. So
yeah, it makes it hard. I mean, that's why it's so impressive that New England had 2 very long streaks of dominating. And then somebody like the Chiefs have kind of more recently had a nice streak of dominating. And they're like, hey, once you're at the top, they go, okay, New England's going to get to play a first place schedule this year. And boy, if that doesn't make your life a lot harder when it comes down to it, when you're just staring at Denver, Green Bay, Vegas, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Detroit, Jacksonville, KC.
See, the thing is Jacksonville was better, so they picked up. And so that may not feel like one that's great, but Jacksonville earned it as well to get up into that. And we'll talk about them in our next episode when we talk about the South. But Jacksonville is another team that benefited from a weaker schedule that's going to probably take a half a step back.
That we're definitely staring at that. That's for sure. They have a fun over-under as well.
Absolutely. Well, if you're interested in Jacksonville, come back for our next episode. All right. But this episode is done. The AFC East is wrapped. The next time you're going to hear about the AFC East is when we are in our draft special. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're the St. Louis Syndicate. You guys have a great one.
Cheers.